Thanks for, can I do this? Is it okay?
Please.
All right. This is me, this is my Borscht Belt roots, right? This is what it is right here. I don't want the mic stand if I can avoid it. I feel so grateful to all the readers who've come before and so nourished by all their stories, but Arshan, your story about being told that you couldn't be gay because you weren't wearing makeup reminded me of something that happened to me. I was out with my small child, who was about 1 at the time, and he was a particularly beautiful small child. I understand that every parent thinks that. But he was very smiley and fat, and he had beautiful blonde ringlets, and so people would stop me all the time to ask about him, and we'd have the same conversation, you know, oh, does he, right, so beautiful. Where's his mother? He doesn't have a mother, right? I'm gay. And one time the woman who was asking me said, "You're gay?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "But you're so big." Thank you. I don't. In addition to being gay, I should tell you that I'm also a transsexual, which isn't normally how I start conversations. But this story doesn't make sense if you don't know that ahead of time. So this is a story that takes place when I was 6 years old. And the summer right before I turned 6 years old, both sets of my grandparents, in a previously unheard of act of inter-grandparental cooperation, combined forces and bank accounts to buy my brother and I a truly extraordinary swing set. Now, at this time I was living in a sort of small suburb in a neighborhood of people who were all kind of clinging to the bottom rung of the middle class with teeth and claws. Everyone was a little house poor, you know. A lot of recent immigrants, a lot of our parents were the first generation in our families to have gone to university. We were mostly Jews and Italians and Greeks. And, you know, it was still the time when kids could kind of run amok, and we did. And what happened when we got this amazing swing set was that it was a far nicer swing set than anyone else in the neighborhood had. It was dark green wood, and it had a slide and a pole you could slide down, and a cargo net that you could climb up, and a ladder across the top that I used to climb to the top of and then crawl across and give my mother a heart attack. And it had 4 swings. A regular swing, I know, right? A regular swing and a bouncy swing and a set of rings and a trapeze that you could hang off of and a teeter-totter. It was like magic. And I'm glad to see that all of you really understand what it meant to have this swing set sort of drop down in the middle of this neighborhood. It was nicer than the swing set at the elementary school we all went to 6 blocks away. And so immediately what happened is that every kid in the neighborhood started spending all their time playing in our backyard. From sunup until sundown, whether we were out or not, my little brother and I, who was like 3 years old, there were kids on the swing set. And as it got hot in August, my dad, I'm pretty sure, decided some mornings he would go out and before he left for work, and he would turn the sprinkler on and throw it off the back deck into the yard. So all day we were like a little circuit, you know? Run through the sprinkler, swing on the swings until we were dry. Run through the sprinkler, swing on the swings until we were dry. Over and over and over again. And the little boys in the neighborhood, as it got hotter during the day, would take off their 1979 orange, brown, and green striped Garanimal shirts and throw them on the storm doors at the back of the house. The outside entry to the cellar. It's a New England thing. And there they would stay all day, as they would run around in their little shorts and get wet and dry off, and get wet and dry off in the sun. And I started to get jealous of them. I wanted to take off my shirt and run around and get wet and get dry in the sun. And my shirts didn't look like theirs. They mostly had, you know, a bow and a ruffle and a cap sleeve and a kit and a flower. It was pretty, I mean, listen, right? Like, it was pretty clear to my parents early on that any amount of femininity that I was ever going to have to my name was going to have to be applied, you know, with force if necessary. And so I think that they just sort of figured, we'll just throw it all at the wall and see what sticks. As you can see, not much. And so I hatched a plan. It was a very 6-year-old plan. This was my plan. One day, a hot day, when my mother called me in for lunch, I went in to my peanut butter and jelly sandwich and my carrot sticks and my Tupperware tumbler of juice. And I ate my peanut butter and jelly sandwich real quick, as usual. I ignored my carrot sticks, which I'm pretty sure were just for form's sake. You know, it's kind of like, look, I gave you a vegetable. It was the 70s. I'm pretty sure it was the same carrot sticks every day. Right, like 2 weeks, and then my mother would throw them out, cut up another carrot, and a cup of apple juice. I didn't drink any of my juice. I took the cup. I went outside. And I don't even know how it occurred to me to do this or where I learned it, but like a teeny, tiny, little, comical drunk in a bar, I took my cup of apple juice, I tipped it up like I was taking a drink, and oops, I spilled it all down the front of me. And then, budding thespian that I was, I looked around in horror. Oops, I've spilled my juice all over myself. And so very casually, I walked over to the storm door, which had already amassed a crop of t-shirts in mustard yellow and harvest gold. And I took my shirt off. I put it with all the other boys' shirts. And I ran through the sprinkler. And then I swung on the swings until I was dry. And then I did it again. I ran through the sprinkler and then I swung on the swings until I was dry. Maybe for half an hour, 45 minutes. In real time, it couldn't have been that long. In my memory, it was forever. Until Brent Wintz, whose name I will never forget, that little fucker who lived 3 doors down, all of a sudden picked his head up and looked at me and pointed and said, "I can see your nipples!" That loud. I immediately panicked. I raced in the house, thundered up the stairs to my room, banged open the door, fell to my knees in front of the bottom drawer of my dresser, which was, I think my grandfather had built it, and so you couldn't ever really quite get the bottom drawer open. And I started yanking at the bottom drawer, trying to get my hand in there so that I could get a shirt over myself before my mother came looking to find out what was the source of the commotion. Now, my memory winks out at the moment that I'm on the floor and I'm trying to get the door open and I hear or sense that my mother's in the doorway, and I look over and there she is, and she does not look happy. I have no idea what happens after that. That's what I don't remember. Here's what I do remember. I remember exactly what it felt like when the water dried on my shoulders. I remember how warm my skin felt in the sun. And then how cool it was to run back through the sprinkler and to feel the water on my chest and back over and over again. I remember it so clearly. And 35 years later, I had the opportunity to experience it again. That's how long it took. I'll tell you what, it felt just as good. Thank you.